morning, everybody. This is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations. I have a tutorial for you today, and we are going to be making my Carta Bella Farmhouse Living recipe album that I called Made with Love. I did do a walkthrough of this album already, and I will link that to video down below. Also below are all of the supplies and the cut list and everything that you're going to need for this album. A word of warning, this is a big album. You will need quite a bit of product to make this album, but it is a fantastic recipe album. This would be amazing to give as a gift with, weddings coming up, new brides need recipe books, that kind of thing. This would be a perfect gift to give to somebody. This would also be a great gift to keep for yourself and create an heirloom treasure that you can pass down. So I just really loved the country feel of this album, and it's really fun to do. So let's go ahead and get started. And again, I'll show parts of this album as we go along to show you what we're going to be making, but the full walkthrough, I will link that video down below. So basically it is 8.5 by 8 1/4, and it has a 3-inch spine. It has 5 pages, and the pages are loaded with all kinds of fun pockets and things. So plenty of room for photos, plenty of room for recipes, really fun. I did buy this fence, and I'll tell you this now, at Hobby Lobby. And if you don't have, a Hobby Lobby around you, or they don't have this anymore, you can do like a Cricut or a silhouette file or something like that and recreate one out of, cardstock. The flowers I did get from Country Craft Creations, these were part of my design team package. The little butterfly, the little ladybug was in my stash. I did make a charm assembly for the spine, and the charms here are all farm related, and I got them from the store that I have a booth in, and there's a little sheep and tractor and things like that. So I did put that on there as a decoration. There is a sticker on the spine as well, because I did end up theming this as a recipe book, and the back of the cover is here. So I did use, I'll tell you now, a full collection of the pattern paper, and I did use quite a bit of cardstock. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to find what's left. Okay, so because I did buy extras. So this is Farmhouse Living from Carta Bella. I did have one full collection, and then I bought extras. I bought 2 extra of this paper, and I bought 1 extra sheet of all of the cut aparts because I wanted to be able to use the patterns on the back. So just FYI, if you're going to do this album with this paper, you will need, because this is all I have left. This is it. And then I did get the ephemera and the frames and tags. I did use quite a bit of those, but I have some left over. I'm thinking maybe with the scraps, I might be able to work something else out of this. I have been known to do that before. So and then the cardstock. So for the tutorial, I'm using white artisan cardstock. For the book, I used red and green. So I will give you the amounts for all of that you will need. The green I kind of used as an accent, so you don't really need it, but I really wanted to do it. On the cover, I did matte the pattern paper with the green, and then I did some of the pocket elements and things in green because I felt like it. So you don't have to if you don't want to. For the tutorial, I cut out all the pieces. I got it all ready to go. And this is what I have left over. Excuse me. So out of this, you can cut your mats, your tags, things like that. There's a lot left over and quite a few big pieces. So this part won't go to waste. I just didn't use it for this tutorial to make the tags and things that go in the pockets. Again, all of the tags and things that I made are in the walkthrough that I already posted, and the link is down below. But out of the scraps, that's where you'll get most of your frames and tags. The other thing too that I want to remind you is that in the larger pockets, I did make a cutting board element that I wanted to put in here, and I used brown artisan cardstock and then the summer ivory. That was another accent color that I used, and that was a silhouette file. I will link that information down below. I'm sure there is a Cricut equivalent out there. I just haven't looked for that yet, but you could also, you know, freehand cut one, or even just make plain large tags to put in those pockets. But I did make several of those. Okay, let's get started. So I've already made the cover, but we're going to talk about the sizes for the cover. So the chipboard, you'll need 2 pieces that are 8.5 by 8 1/4, and then you'll need a piece for the spine that's 3 by 8 1/4. So the album is 8 1/4 tall, 8.5 wide. The pages themselves will be 8 by 8, so they're fairly big. Now the pages are not pockets; they are flat pages with stuff added to them. So you do have plenty of pockets, plenty of flips, all that stuff. The cardstock that you will need to cover your chipboard, you'll need 2 pieces that are 10.5 by 10 1/4 to cover the front and the back. You'll need a piece that's 6 by 10 1/4, and that will cover the outside spine. And then you will need a piece that's 6 by 8 1/8. That will cover the inside of the spine. I did do a tie closure, so I just added some seam binding to the middle here to remind me, you know, not to forget it. So I just did the lay flat method to make my cover, and that tutorial is in my list of tutorials, and I will link that one below in the description as well. But I already got the cover made, and we are going to add to this. So put the cover aside for just a second. I did use heavyweight chipboard in the main album, okay, in the cover. So the pages that you will need, we'll get started with this, are 5 pages at 8 3/4 by 8. Sorry, I can't do that one-handed. 8 3/4 by 8, and we're going to put each one of them in our scoreboard, and we're going to score them at 1/2 and at 3/4 on the 8 3/4 inch side. Okay, so when you're done, you'll have a 1/2 inch tab that's going to attach to the book, and you'll have a 1/4 inch space that is the give space that will help the pages. Because of all the pocket elements and everything that we're going to add to our pages, it will help make sure that everything turns well. Now, when you're done with this, when you're done with all of the scoring, you will have a page to work with that's 8 by 8. So it's a fairly good sized page. If you want to create this into a pocket, then you can add another piece to the top of this and make it a pocket page that's either top or side loading if you want to. I chose not to since I had so many elements actually on the page, but that's an option. So then the other thing too is that I know a lot of people like the hidden hinge. I don't use the hidden hinge. I like this L hinge thing. This can be adapted to a hidden hinge if you want. If you made a hidden hinge, and I did not figure out the dimensions, so that's something that you'll have to figure out for a 5-page book with a 1/2 inch gusset on all of it. The one thing you could do is you could either remove this 3/4 inch piece and then just adhere this 8 by 8 to the hidden hinge, or you could just add this 1/2 inch tab to the hidden hinge itself and then keep your 1/4 inch gusset. So those are some options for you. Now, I have not tried to do that because I don't use that hidden hinge type system. But that is an option. I've had a couple people ask about that. Now, that all being said, I've used this L hinge idea for a long time, and I have not had a single problem with it coming apart at the spine, even as heavy as I make some of my pages. I've never had an issue with it. So the choice is up to you, but this is I guess an L hinge, and that's what I do. So it has a 1/2 inch tab that attaches to the spine, and then it has the 1/4 inch tab, or I keep saying tab, 1/4 inch space that is the give space. Okay, so again, all 5 pages, 8 3/4 at the top, score at 1/2, score at 3/4. And then once you're done with that, you know, you're just going to fold and burnish all of your score lines, okay? And just be careful when you're folding it to keep everything nice and straight. And then you will end up with a page that's like this. Okay, so again, the 1/2 inch tab is what attaches to the spine. We don't attach this 1/4 inch piece to anything. That's just a helper to make our pages turn because we're going to build on them. Okay, so we're going to do that to all of them, or you're going to do that to all of them. I'm not going to do that right now. We're just going to build the pages. Actually, no, I am going to do that. I'm going to do that real quick, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I have folded and burnished all of my pages so they are ready to go. So then what we're going to do is we're going to build our pages and then we'll add them to the book last, okay? So first thing what we're going to do, and we're going to do the inside covers last after we add our pages because it'll be easier to put our pages on before we add anything to the inside covers, okay? So I'm going to set those off to the side, and then what we're going to do is we're going to grab the front of page 1. Now the front of page 1 is a split pocket, and I will show you that super quick. So it is a split pocket where you could put things either here or in this way, however you want them to stick out. But then you have a larger space behind where you could put larger things. So I was thinking that if you had full page recipes that you wanted to just tuck back there, and then you had some recipe cards that you wanted to tuck in there or here, you totally could. And it's kind of a fun, different pocket that I haven't recalled seeing. It could be out there, but I haven't seen it if it is. So there it is. So for that, you're just going to need 2 pieces that are 7 1/4 by 4, and you're going to score them both the same, but they're going to be opposite, okay? Because you have to have one for one side of the page and one for the other. So the first one for the left-hand side of the page, you'll put it in with the 4 at the top, score at 1/2, and then turn it clockwise, score at 1/2. So that's for the left side of the page. For the right side of the page, you'll put it in 4 at the top. You'll score at 3 1/2, and then turn it counterclockwise. Actually, you could turn it clockwise because that'll make more sense because everything's clockwise, and then score it at 1/2 inch. But basically what you're going to need are scores on the opposite. So you're going to need score here and here, and then you're going to need scores here and here. Okay? So then putting this to the side here, my workspace is so small. I need to clean it. That's why it's so small. It's actually not very small. It's just very cluttered right now because I have got so much going on. Okay, so miter our corners. Okay, there is no closure required for this page, so we're good with that. We just need to make our pockets. So we mitered, and we're going to fold and burnish, and then we're just going to add them to our page. And then you can add your pattern paper after the fact. You will have to cover the entire page, you know, underneath the pockets, but that's a good thing, because when you look at the book, when you take all these tags out, the back pattern paper will show through the split, and then it'll also cover all of the tabs for the pockets so your tags won't get hung up on anything. So grabbing our page, okay, so we're going to fold the score lines to the back just so that we ignore them and don't do anything silly like glue onto them like, you know, I have. And then the other thing too is that you can round your corners, and I am going to do that. Let me grab my corner rounder. If I can find it, I should have dug that out first. So I'm just going to round the top corners of those pockets, and then we're just going to simply glue them down to the edges. I'm using white Artisan cardstock for this tutorial that I did get, you know, from Country Craft Creations, and also the, you know, of course, the chipboard and everything else that I use. Almost, let's see, all of it's from Country Craft Creations. So the art glitter glue here is from Country Craft Creations, and my chipboard and my Artisan cardstock. So we're just going to glue these down, and that's it. Then this page is done, and it's very simple, but it does create kind of a fun, different pocket. And we're just going to put it right to the edge of our page. And that is why you need to have them opposite. Now, if you score these the same using Artisan cardstock and, you know, bend the scores the opposite direction, you're not going to have any problem because Artisan cardstock doesn't rip or tear or anything like that. So it's going to be fine. But this is your pocket. So then you just have to add your pattern paper to it. And that's it. This is the split pocket front of page 1. So let's go to the back of page 1. And I will real quick show you the back of page 1 has just a simple fold out with a pocket, and there is a magnet closure that you're going to need to put right here to attach to the back of the page, and that will keep that whole thing closed. Now, you technically don't have to. If you don't want to do that, this actually is pretty heavy once you get everything on it, so you don't necessarily have to. I just really wanted to. So magnet here and a magnet here. So what we're going to do, I'm not going to use magnets in this particular tutorial, but I'll use a pen mark to remind myself. So that is the thing we need to remember, is the magnet closure on this before you put your pattern paper down. Okay, so for the fold out, you will need a piece that's 7 by 11 3/4, and for the pocket, you will need one piece that's 7 by 3. And in your scoreboard, we'll start with the fold out, and we're going to put it in our scoreboard with the 11 3/4 at the top, and we're going to score at 1/2, and we're going to score at 6 1/2. And then for the pocket, we're going to put it with 7 at the top and score at 1/2, score at 6 1/2, and then score on the 3-inch side. You can either do it at half or score it at 2 1/2. Either way, you need a 1/2 inch on the 3 sides to make the pocket. This pocket will go on the front of the flap. So we have our flap. You don't necessarily have to miter this tab, and that's what attaches the whole thing to the page, because it's not the whole size of the page. You don't necessarily have to do that, okay? So the flap will attach to the page, and then it will open and then flip out like this. So that's why that page is a little bit smaller, okay? So, and then we have our pocket. So this one I will miter the corners. And I'm going to miter this pretty sharply here. Fold and burnish. And then we're just going to attach it to the front of our assembly. And then again, I put the pattern paper all the way down into the pocket because it's really, I mean, it's only 2 1/2 inches. It's not going to save a whole lot in pattern paper, but if you want to do that, do the tape trick. So the tape trick is where you just glue the bottom of the pocket tab down only, and then you put the Scotch tape over the tab so that your tags don't get caught up. But since I'm going to put pattern paper all the way down into these pockets, it's going to cover all of my tabs, which I really like to do, so then my tags never get caught up. And, you know, again, it's not going to save a whole lot more paper, so that's what I'm going to do. All right, so this goes to the back of page 1. So here's the back of page 1. Just make sure you got the right orientation. And we're going to put it, we're going to line it up right in the middle, just like that. So I'm going to get my centering ruler out here. I want to make sure that I'm right in the middle. All right, so when we line this up, it should be a 1/2 inch from the top and the bottom. So that's going to work out just fine. And again, you don't have to miter this one if you don't want to, because it will be covered up and it's in the middle of the page, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. All right, so I'm just going to line this up like so and glue it down. Okay. Okay. All right, and then what I was talking about, I'm just going to use a pencil here, and the magnet will go from here to here, and you can put it pretty much anywhere you want. I'm going to put it more towards the edge, so then I'm just going to put a magnet there, and then close it just to kind of make sure where you're going to do it. And I'm just going to make, you know, just a reminder to put the magnet down there. When I make stars on my notes, that means a magnet. So that's the front and back of page 1. So super simple and done. So I'm going to just tuck that in my book for now. And then let's go to the front of page 2. So this one's a little bit more complicated. Front of page 2 has flaps that will open like so, and then one on the top, one on the bottom, and then we have a waterfall on the inside that is you know, one of my waterfall pieces, okay? And it lays on top of the pattern paper. So this is important to note. We'll put our flaps on, and then you need to put your pattern paper down, and then the waterfall sits on top of the pattern paper, okay? So I will not attach it to this particular book at this time because I don't know what papers I'm going to finish this with yet. But we will clip it on the page, and then I will know to do that. So that's the one thing you have to remember. The other thing you have to remember is that it's a tie closure. So we're going to need to make sure that we do the tie closure. Okay. So front of page 2. So we have our tie closures. I'm using white seam binding from our Country Craft Creations. And so we have 2 of those. We're going to need 2 flaps that are 6 by 12. Okay. Right here. And then we're going to need to make our waterfall, and you're going to need 3 pieces for that. One is 6 by 10.5, one is 6 by 9.5, one is 6 by 8.5. And they will make 4 by 6 photo opportunities. And you can put them landscape or portrait. I decided to put them portrait because I wanted to kind of have them peek out from underneath the flaps. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is make our scores. So for our flaps, they're both going to be the same. You're going to have 2 of them. So put it with the 12 at the top, and the first thing we'll do is score at 3.5 and at 8.5. Okay. Then what you're going to do is turn it and score on the 6 at 1/2. Whoops. Don't move your paper while you do it. It's always a good thing. Score down at 1/2. And then we're going to make a couple extra scores, but we're not going to score all the way down, okay? This is the tricky part for this particular flap because we're just going to pop those out. So we've already got a 1/2 inch score here down to this score line that we made, okay? And it's going to go all the way down the paper. We're going to make one more score, a 1/2 inch from that, so at 1 inch, but we're going to stop at that score line. So you're going to have a score here, okay? So you'll have a score here, 1/2 inch, all the way down on the side, but then you're going to have another one 1/2 inch away at 1 inch, score it down only to the score line. That's it. That's a marker for us for cutting. That's all that is. And then we're going to turn it, and now you'll notice that you have a score here at 5.5 all the way down. So we're going to go a 1/2 inch from that at 5, and we'll score down just to the score line. Okay. So you should have 2 scores here, 1 score here, 2 scores here. So then all you're going to do is take your scissors and you're going to cut the scores, the second score that we made out, if I can get in the right light so I can see it. Okay. Cut just to the score line. Okay. And then we're going to miter the middle tab and then cut that straight out. Okay. You will end up with a piece that looks like that. Okay. So you have no scores here now, and you have a 1/2 inch tab here. So then we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to just miter, cut down straight down that score line to that second score line that we did at the inch mark, and then cut that score out. Okay, that is our little flap. So let's do that again. So let's see, I can't see the scores in this light. And no matter what paper I use, it's always hard to see. So I apologize for that. I'm trying my best here. Okay, we'll cut up straight, and then we'll miter. Okay, and then we will do this, cut down to that score line, and then cut that out. So that second score that we did for the flaps on the flaps, it's just a guide for cutting, basically, is all it is. Okay, so those 2 are prepared. Then we're going to score our waterfalls, and we're going to do my waterfall method where Each piece is scored the same, so you put the longest piece at the top. So we have an 8.5, a 9.5, and a 10.5. Those will go at the top. You score at 4 inches, turn it, score at 4 inches. All 3 pieces are scored the same. Put it in, score at 4, turn it, score at 4. Each of the middles will get a little bit wider. That's what you want. Okay, so we'll make the waterfall. So we're just going to fold and burnish, make sure everything is nice and straight. And then I'm going to try and use the spacers. So at Country Craft Creations, we have spacers that are smaller in size, which are perfect for matting, for card making, and for making these waterfalls. So Tamara, our leader and owner of Country Craft Creations, used them making these waterfalls in her December daily album, and it made the checking of the 1/2-inch marks super simple, and you don't need to use a scoreboard to do it anymore. Okay, so what I'm talking about now, I only have 1 of each size, but when you order them from Country Craft Creations, you will get 2 of each size. So that's really handy to have for, especially for matting. So you get a 1/4 inch, a 3/8 inch, and a 1/2 inch, and they're really nice. So we're going to use the 1/2 inch, and basically what we're going to do is take the longest piece, so our 10.5 inch piece, and we're going to line this up at the score. We're going to take our next piece, and we're going to put glue on the spine area here. All right. And having that all lined up, then we're just going to lay this down right up against that spacer, making sure everything's centered, and boom, you have perfectly centered and aligned your waterfall, and you have the perfect 1/2 inch behind as well. It's amazing. I love it. So these things are awesome and cool, and I highly, highly, highly suggest that you get them, especially if you make a lot of cards and you want to do like matting and things like that. These are really nice. They're smaller. They don't go, you know, the full 12 inches. I think they're 7 inches long. They're awesome. They are awesome. So I'm lining it up right against my, there you go. And now you have your waterfall done. Okay. I'm just making sure everything's burnished well. And there you go. When you fold this all flat, then boom, you have a waterfall. It's perfectly straight. It's perfectly spaced. Everything is amazing. Okay, so put that aside. Let's make our flaps. So these are super simple. You just fold that tab down. That's what attaches to the page. And then these little flaps will fold to the inside. You can round corners if you want to. You can do whatever you want to. So these will go on the inside. I love coming up with ways to like not make this, you know, a bunch of pieces, like try and get something out of one piece of paper to make the flaps and stuff. I call it configurations, where you make cuts and scores and folds, and you can make different things out of something. So that is something I really like to do. Okay, so we're going to grab our page. So we're going to fold all of our hinge pieces to the back. This is the front of page 2. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lay down our tie closure for this. So I'm just going to use my centering ruler, find the center. I'm going to put a little score tape at the bottom and lay my seam binding down. I cut these. You can cut them anywhere from like 12 to 14 inches. You probably will end up trimming them anyway. If you're using ribbons or something and you don't like tie knots at the ends, you probably could get away with, you know, the 12 inches. But if you do anywhere between 12 and 14, then you have enough room to like tie knots, especially like in seam binding where it likes to ravel. Okay, so that's at the bottom. Next step is to take one of your flap pieces, okay, and we're going to put glue on the 1/2 inch tab. And we're going to center that at the bottom of the page. So again, I'm going to grab my centering ruler and right over the top of that seam binding, right to the bottom of the page, we're going to line this up. Now the center of this, it will be at the 2.5 inch mark from the center where you're going to lay this down, okay? So once you have that laid down, then you don't need your ruler anymore, because the top one, you can use this to help guide you. So I'm going to turn it around upside down, and I'm going to take my other tab, and I did miter these, and you don't necessarily have to, I guess. All right, and I'm going to use this as a lineup because I want to make sure that this is completely lined up. And I want it straight. So I'm doing it to the edge, and I'm lining it up straight with the other flap. Okay, so now my tabs are in the inside. Okay, and then so this page, then what you're going to do, seam binding here. So in the middle of this, we're going to lay down our seam binding. So 2.5 inches. I'm going to push that up just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to turn it to the side so I can see it better. A little seam binding here. And our second piece of seam binding here. Okay. So that will be the tie closure. And then on the inside, now the next thing to do is put your pattern paper down first, okay? So pattern paper first. And then you will take your waterfall and you will put glue on the spine here, okay? And then center this and glue it down. Okay? Just like that. So it will be on top of the pattern paper. And then this whole assembly will open up because it will be all glued down, and then you'll have another opportunity back here for more pictures. So you got lots of opportunity for pictures for that, okay? So that is the front of page 2. So I'm going to just kind of lock everything in here so that I remember. What am I doing here? I can't tie a ribbon. Okay, I need more caffeine, I guess. It's really early here still, and I didn't get a lot of sleep. So let's work on the back of page 2. Let's put this to the side for just a second. So the back of page 2 is that fun accordion belly band. You need one piece that's 9 by 9. That's it. Really fun to do, and it gives you actually 3 different, it gives you a belly band and 2 pockets, basically, is what it gives you. Okay, so first thing you're going to do, pick a side. Doesn't matter. They're both 9 by 9. And the first thing you're going to do on the first 9 side is you're going to score at 4 and at 7. And then turn it and then score at 1/2 inch on either end. So at 1/2 and at 8.5. That's going to give you some tabs. Okay. We need all of those tabs. We're not cutting any of them out. So we're going to fold accordion style, like so. Okay. And then we're going to miter our corners. Okay. So it's a lot easier to, I was reminded of this trick and I'm like, duh, why don't I ever do this? So like if you're doing, we're going to make all 3 of these 1/2 inch scores tabs. So instead of cutting down and up, if you just fold it where you know you're going to have the miter and then just chop it, then boom, you have your thing, and you only have to cut it once instead of trying to do this whole, V-shaped thing. So I'm just going to do that and miter all of these corners like that, and then we have our tabs. So we're going to do the other side as well. Okay, mitering all of the ends here, and then we're done. That's pretty easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? I was reminded of that, and I was like, oh man, I knew I needed to remember how to do this. So the back of page 2, the way that I have this is the top pocket opens to the inside. It doesn't really matter. You can do it any way you want. So however you want to lay it down. I'm going to do it the exact same way I did it in this book. So the top pocket of the accordion will open towards the spine, and then the second little accordion piece will open towards the outside, and then you have, of course, your big belly band behind. So all of this can be papered after you put it in the book, which is absolutely fine to do. If you would rather paper it now, just remember to paper the correct sides, because this is an accordion. One of the back sides will actually have to be covered. Okay, so when you fold it up, I'm going to put, whoops, and then I did it in the, you have to fold your tabs in the correct orientation too. So there we go. Okay, so when you fold it, it will fold like this. All of the tabs will go inside and they're going to kind of glue onto each other. Okay, so if you want to paper your piece now before you add it to your page, put pattern paper here, here, and here. Okay, and like I said, when you open it up, when you put your pattern paper on, this piece is going to end up on the inside. So don't put pattern paper here. Do it here, here, and then do it on the middle on the other side. Okay, and the tabs fold in this direction. So these two tabs on the bigger piece will attach to the book. All right, so all the rest of the tabs, these here and these here, will have to attach to the piece. So we're going to start with this one. And this will create the sides of the pockets, and then this will obviously be like the bottom of the pocket. Okay, so you just glue that down. And then we'll do the same thing with this one. Like so. Okay, so now you have a pocket here, you have a pocket here, and then you have your belly band that'll be here. So we'll take the back of page 2, making sure we're in the proper orientation, and we're just going to glue that down to the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and actually untie this and open it up just so that I have it flat and I can not have any barriers underneath it. And then I'm just going to center that down and glue it down. Okay, so let's start with this one here. And I'll use my centering ruler, which I need to get a new one because the markings are like so bad. So I'm ignoring my scores on the sides there because I don't want to do that. So they should line up at like the 2-inch mark, and you're just going to go right at the bottom of the page. Okay. Then we will put glue. Okay, so it's going to glue back up there. So we'll put glue here. And then fold it up, and then it will glue right to the top of the page. And there's your belly band, your accordion belly band for the back of page 2. All right, so let's put this guy back together. We have page 2 done. There we go. Whoops, maybe not. Ay, ay, ay. I should take a break. Did I say it's early here? Okay, page 2 is done. So put that aside and let's go to the front of page 3. Now this page will also require a magnet closure. So let's look at page 3 really quick. Front of page 3 has this flap, which is actually a pocket, and I created a tag that goes in there, a little booklet. And then you have a pocket here, so really super simple. And then the magnet will go here to here, okay? In order to do this page, you need a couple pieces. You need a piece that's 9x4, which is this. This is the pocket, and then the flap here, the pocket flap, is 6.5 by 8.5. Okay, so the scoring for this, the pocket, put it in with the 9 at the top, score at half, at 8.5, and then turn it, and you can either score at half on one side or at 3.5 on the other side, whichever is easier for you, just so you have a 1/2 inch on each side of each of the 3 sides, I should say, so you can make your pocket. And then you have your 6.5 by 8.5 piece. So on the 6.5, we'll score at 1/2, and then turn it, and then we'll score at 4 and at 8. Okay? So that being done, pocket is our standard pocket. Miter the corners. It goes on 3 sides. It lays down on the page. All of this can be papered after you put it on the page. That's no problem. Just don't forget your magnet, and we're going to make our pencil marks for that. Okay? So get the pocket ready. Ooh. Get this off my desk here. Making a mess. Okay? And then here is our pocket. So we're going to keep our tabs because we're going to need them all. Okay? So first I'm going to fold and burnish, and then I'm going to do that whole nifty mitering thing for that one inside tab here. Okay, so we're going to miter. I'm going to fold that. I'm going to miter that one. Okay, so when it opens, boom, we're done. We're going to cut this one off and miter that. Okay, so one of these tabs will attach it to the page. The other one is going to create our pocket. Okay, so we're going to leave the top tab alone, but the 2 tabs that are adjacent, we're going to put glue on and then fold that over, and that's going to create our little pocket. Now, I should have done this first, and I do this every single time, but you can't really put pattern paper in this pocket. And so to make sure your tags don't stick, we should have put a piece of tape on there before you put the glue on there. But if you put a piece of Scotch tape under there, even if you forget, so now we're good to go. And when we fold that over, it's going to help our flap stick down so that our tags won't get stuck when we're putting them inside and outside the pockets, okay? So I have my glue here. We're going to real carefully fold that over and stick all of that down. So if you forget, it still can be salvaged after you put the glue on. Okay. All right. And so we have our little tab here that's going to attach to the page. I'm going to fold that away from the pocket because we have the bulk of the pocket that we folded over on this side. So I'm just going to fold that tab to the back, and then we'll glue this side, and that will be how the pocket, or the little pocket flap will be. So the third page, first front side of page 3, I'm going to fold my scores on the side there. This will go here, and the pocket will be here. So let's put this pocket down first. Now I, again, put pattern paper all the way into this pocket. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But use the tape trick if you don't, because then your tags won't stick. And that's why I do the pattern paper down there. I know I've said that 100 times. Okay, so that goes right to the edge of the page. And I know I'm kind of going fast with this, but that's the beauty of video. You can stop it, and you can, you know, look back and re-watch it and all that. So, and a lot of times when I'm watching someone else's tutorials, which I do quite a bit, I take notes. I don't make it along while I'm watching it. I actually watch it first, take notes, and because sometimes my notes, you know, make I don't know. It sometimes makes it a lot easier for me. I hardly ever watch a tutorial and actually make it while I'm watching it. I always watch, take notes, and then go from there. You should see the notes I took on Tamara's December Daily. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here's where the magnet goes. So what I'm going to do is you need to make sure that the magnet's going to stay within the area you need it. So with the flap closed, I'm just going to draw a little line here, and my magnet needs to go in here. Okay, so we're going to put my magnet here. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's the closure that I'm going to use. Okay, so the front of page 3 is done. That's it. So we'll put this off to the side. Let's go to the back of page 3. So this is a fun one with a little miniature waterfall. So I have this little note that says over. We're going to go over. So these are the things you need to remember for this one. We're going to cover the large pocket with pattern paper before you put the waterfall on it, because the waterfall will lay on the top of the pocket and you will have a magnet closure for the waterfall. Okay. For this, we will need a pocket that's 9 by 4. So one of those 9 by 4. The waterfall closure is 6 3/4 by 1 3/4. And the waterfall itself, now this is, you know, kind of our baby one, is 3 1/4 by 7, one at 3 1/4 by 8, and one at 3 1/4 by 9. Okay, in the back of page 3, let me show you. So this is the pocket here. Oops. I'm doing it one-handed and can't do it. Okay, so the pocket goes here. So this is the big pocket, and then the waterfall is here, and it sits on top of the pocket. You can see that some of the pocket paper is sticking out from the behind. So don't stick the waterfall down until you put your pattern paper on there. And then the magnet is between the top and this right here. Okay, so I did it so that the top can still be seen, but you could, you know, stick it down this way too if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's get this out of the way, get our pieces, and do some scoring. All right, waterfall closure. 6 3/4, 1 3/4. We're going to score at 1/2. And then I did round my corners on this, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that so I don't forget, and that is done. Then we have our waterfall, our 3 pieces, so they're in different lengths, 7, 8, 9. Put all of the long lengths at the top, the 7, 8, and 9, score them all the same. So score at 3 1/4, and then turn and score at 3 1/4. All 3 of those. We're just going to make a baby one, and this will be perfect for a 3 by 3 picture with a nice border around it. And then the big pocket, 4 at the top, score at 1/2. Turn it so that the 9 is at the top, score at 1/2 and 8 1/2. Okay, so I did it backwards, but there's 1/2 and 8 1/2. Okay, so 3 pockets. That's it. So folding and burnishing, mitering our corners for our pockets. I'm doing them really sharply on the corners because it helps prevent bulk. And again, pattern paper all the way down, because that's how I roll. Okay. Okay. Waterfall. So we're going to do the same thing with the waterfall. It's just a miniature waterfall. Okay. So folding and burnishing. That. Okay. And then our closure. And you don't necessarily have to miter that. All right, so let's make our waterfall, get that piece ready to go. So we're going to do the same thing. Take your longest piece, and a 1/2 inch in, we're going to lay down the next longest piece. So we'll put glue on this. We're just going to get it ready. We're not going to put it down yet because you have to cover it with pattern paper. So when you figure that part out, then you can lay this down on top of it, okay? And again, I haven't figured out which paper I'm going to use to finish this one up. But when I do, I will try to remember to do a video and show you what it turned out to look like. How's that sound? All right. Then, let's do this. Those spacers make this even easier than they already were. Oh my goodness. I didn't even think of using them for this, but oh my goodness, it's amazing. No putting them on your scoreboard anymore. So that was awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay, pieces are ready. Page 3, here's the back of page 3. Pocket first down at the bottom of the page. Adding some glue. Okay. And the nice thing about the way that I do my pages is that the give space really does help with the pages turning, because it does really accommodate for all of the stuff you put on your pages. It's just kind of an extra little thing. Okay, next thing. This goes on top of the pocket. This is the closure for our waterfall. Okay, so right in the middle of our pocket, and right in the middle is about at there. So is that right? That's right. All right, towards the edge. So for this one, it will be at about 7/8 of an inch in. Okay, from the top and the bottom. So center that. Okay, there's our closure for our waterfall. Now this is where you're going to set your magnets. Now you have to put pattern paper down first. Put this guy on here. Okay, so it's going to have a little bit of a border around, and then you will set your magnet. So again, I'm going to just make a little line to know that my magnet has to be somewhere in this area, like so, and like so. Okay, so do that. So remember to put your pattern paper down first, and then put your waterfall on. Okay, I'm going to grab a clip, maybe, if I can get my fingers to work. I'm just going to clip this down so that I remember, and I have my little magnet closure. Everything's going to be good. Okay, so that's the back of page 3. Front of page 4 is the T belly band, and this is like super simple, but it was like quite the aha moment for me. I was digging it. I gotta tell you, I was digging it. I was like, this is like 2 in 1. I love this. Okay, so you need 2 pieces that are, one is 2x9, one is 2x6. Easy peasy. Score 1/2 inch on each side. So at 1/2 and at 8.5, and then on the 2x6, score at 1/2 and at 5.5. Okay, don't need to miter if you don't want to. Fold your scores. Okay, and then what you're going to do, just to make sure that everything fits properly, is the first thing you're going to do is attach this one to this one. Okay, and it's going to attach in a T fashion. So you're going to want to center it. So I'm going to, my centering ruler ready, and this should be 1 inch. I'm going to actually turn it to the side so I can see it. 1 inch on either side of the center. Okay, and the reason why I am doing this is so that I can get this lined up on the page perfectly. Okay, I don't want this bottom part of this belly band to be like floating somewhere up on the page. So what I'm going to do is grab my page, so the front of page 4. So if I lay this down and I accidentally get it too high, then what I'm talking about is my belly band's going to be too high. So I want it centered. Is that centered? Good gravy, that looks wrong. Why does that look wrong? Oh, because I did it at 3/4. Okay, let's reset that one, because this is going to get covered with pattern paper anyway. So it's okay. All right, so do over. Do over. Okay, so I did it at 3/4 instead of 1 inch to either side, because I was talking. All right, so I'm just going to move that over just a hair. Okay, so we're going to slide pattern paper underneath that, so it's not going to be a problem. If you wanted to do it now and, you know, just cover this with pattern paper now, you totally could do that and then lay it down on the page. Okay. So what I was trying to say is that I don't want this bottom belly band like floating on the page, like being too high. So I want to make sure that when I glue it down, it is right at the bottom edge of that page. So I'm going to line this up on my page, making sure that everything is square. Okay. And then I'm going to glue that down. So I'm just going to hold this down. And glue that bottom one down, okay? So now this is attached at the bottom, okay? So we a lot of times when we do a belly band, we do a stopper here. This is a fancy stopper. It just creates another pocket, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't know. I was kind of thrilled with it, so I hope you like it. Try it, see what you think. Let me know. So then, just making sure everything's lined up, then I'm just going to put this at the side. Glue that down, and then turn it around and glue this one down, and then we're done. T belly band is done. And it looks fancy, but it's like super simple. Super uber simple. And then you can just slide your pattern paper underneath, and then you have the big pocket. So you could put something big here, but then you could put stuff on the side here, which is really cool. Once you get your pattern paper on here, it stiffens these up a little bit, and it holds the tags beautifully. So you're going to love this. Okay, back of page 4 is my roundabout waterfall. And this is really cool. It's really easy to do. The magnet closure I did with a cut apart. So you can put this on afterwards, which is cool. So there's a couple ways to do this roundabout. I did the roundabout. So if you ignore this piece here, because this piece actually has a magnet in between the matting that I did and this cut apart here. So there's a magnet here and then a magnet that goes here, okay? So this is one piece. If we open it up, so this is one of the roundabout pieces, okay? This is another roundabout piece. This is a roundabout piece. And this is a roundabout piece. So it goes on all 4 sides. Now, there's 2 ways to do this. If you want to put a full sheet of pattern paper down on the page first, and then add your roundabouts, you'll have a 1/2 inch gusset like you would with any other waterfall showing, and you could put a second piece of paper down here and be done with it. What I did was I put the roundabouts on this one first, and then I took strips and then just added strips around. I cut them at 3/8 of an inch by 7 7/8 of an inch. And I just put them around as a border clear across the page. And it worked out really well. So then when you get to the inside of all the roundabouts, then I just cut a piece that fit in here, and it had a really pretty little like double border of red showing with the pattern paper. So I thought it was kind of a fun thing to do. So that's what I'm planning on doing with this one. So this is the back of page 4. The roundabout waterfalls are super easy because you just need one size, 4 of them. 6 by 8.5. You just need 4 of those. And you're going to put them in your scoreboard, and you're going to score them all the same. So you're going to score them at 4 and 4.5. Done. That's it. 4 and 4.5. So you have a 1/2 inch gusset. Okay. So then you just fold all of these. So on this one, I'm going to add these to the page, and then I'm going to do the frame thing again. So like I said, I cut strips that were, 7 7/8 by 3/8 inch wide. And then I just put them across the top right through these 1/2 inch gussets, and it framed it absolutely beautifully and turned out really, really nice. And the inspiration for that, because I hadn't figured out like exactly how I was going to do that yet, was actually because of Tamara and the Christmas tree waterfall that she did in her December daily. So she had this beautiful Christmas tree, but it was different shaped waterfall, and she used strips that went all across the page. And I was like, that was my aha moment to frame this. So if you're really interested, you should check out all of her tutorials on her December Daily, and I will give you a link to her page, and you can start with the first one. It's an amazing book that she does from start to finish, everything, scratch, everything, start to finish. And it's absolutely gorgeous, but that's where kind of the aha moment came from that I could do it this way. So 2 ways to do it. And there you go. So I'm just centering this right to the edge of the page. I put glue on that 1/2 inch gusset right there. Okay. And then I'm going to turn and do the same thing. So it basically is about 1 inch from the inside, or inch from the edge on both sides. Okay. I'm just trying to center it as best I can and make sure I center it properly this time. Right to the edge of the page. And this makes your roundabout, and you have a ton of space for pictures or writing recipes. If you made this an heirloom book and you actually like filled it in with recipes, that would be such a cool thing. Okay, so I'm not gonna go into my score here. I want to go right to the edge of that score because I don't want it hindering anything if my page is turning. Okay. Okay, and this is the roundabout. I like this one. It was fun and it was easy. And it looks cool. It's only 4 pieces of paper. And it looks like it's so much more. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, last one. Let's see. About there. Okay. Right to the edge of the page. Got glue on me. Got glue everywhere. Okay. All right. So the roundabout page is on the back of page 4. So we have our binding piece in the correct orientation, and it'll close side to side, up or down and up, and then side to side, and then down and up. Okay, and then this is where I added a piece and put a magnet. So I'm going to just go ahead and like do my little reminder for my magnet, and then I'm going to do like a cut apart or something that will actually attach it together. Okay, now the other option, if you want, is to add seam binding here and then seam binding down to the bottom of the page before you add your roundabouts, and then you can use the seam binding if you want to. Okay, so those are the 2 options that you can do. All right, so that's the back of page 4, and we're all done. So now we're going to do the front of page 5, and the front of page 5 has this beautiful fold out, okay, and then one on the bottom as well. So super simple, but lots more space to do things. So the front of page 5, we do need to have our tie closure, so that will be added first, and then you need 2 pieces that are 7 by 8, and you're going to score them both the same way. Get our scoreboard here, and we will score at 1/2 and at 4.5 on the 8-inch side. Okay, 1/2 and 4.5 on the 8-inch side. Both pieces are the same, and they're just going to attach up and down. And again, you don't necessarily need to miter these because they aren't going to go to the edge of the page. And this page here is purposely smaller than the flap, okay, so it doesn't interfere with the closing it. And you can do all kinds of, you know, you could edge punch these, you could corner around them, you could do all kinds of stuff. And even if you attach them, you can still do it. You know, a lot of times stuff like that I forget to do, and then, you know, I do it after the fact, after I go ahead and attach them. Okay, front of page 5. So the first thing we need to do, let's get these out of the way, fold our attachment pieces back here, and then we're going to add seam binding to the bottom of the page. So I'm just going to center, add a little score tape, And then add my seam binding. Okay, just like that. And then we're going to add our flap to the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to center it. Some things I eyeball, some things I don't. This one, I don't want to. So about 1/2 inch from each edge is where this is going to land. And I did that on purpose too, so that it doesn't really interfere with the turning of the pages. And you can see paper, you know, from underneath it. So it gives kind of a frame effect, okay? And then we're going to add the top one, and we don't need the ruler for that because we're going to match it to this one. I'm going to turn it around, and this will go up right against it, so I'm just going to put it to the top edge and then just match the sides, and that should work out just fine. Okay, just like that. Drop everything. Okay. And then what we'll do is we are going to add seam binding to the top. And then this page is ready to decorate. I tend to decorate it after I get it into my books. I don't tend to decorate as I go because a lot of times I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So if I make my bases and put them in my book, and then I can kind of look through the papers and like see, I usually cut the bases out first and then go from there and see what's, you know, kind of left over. That's kind of how I tend to do it. Okay, so that's the front of page 5. Let's do the back of page 5. And this is the alternating accordion stacked pockets. You will need 3 pieces of paper, one that's 7.5 by 7.5, one that's 6.5 by 6.5, and one that's 5.5 by 5.5. All of them are going to be scored on 2 sides at 1/2 and at 1/2, okay? So we're just going to score 2 sides. That's it, okay? And make like an open-sided pocket, okay? So you're going to want to miter all of your corners, okay? So just 1/2 inch on each side of each square, but do remember that these are going to alternate. So when we lay them down, we got to make sure that we do that properly. And let me show you. Let me miter these real quick. And then I will show you what I'm talking about in case you forgot. All right. So back of page 5 has the alternating pockets. So you have the 5.5 by 5.5 one is here, and then the 6.5 one is here, and then the 7.5 one is here. So you see the top and the bottom open towards the outside of the book, and the inside opens to the inside. So it's kind of accordion, but they're all pockets. Whoops. So drop my book. Okay, so we will fold and burnish. As we mitered everything, and we're going to build our pocket. Okay, so we're going to start with the base. The base is the biggest one, and then we're going to add the next biggest one on top of it. So the 6.5 by 6.5 one. We have, oops, and I need to remember to fold the squares the correct way. Okay. All right. So this pocket is going to open to here. So we have our tabs on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to corner around, and then this pocket here will go on top, and it's going to open to this side. And again, I'm going to corner around. I'm just going to add that to the pocket, and that is simply that. I mean, it's not super complicated, but it kind of created a cool effect, and it gave lots of pocket space. Okay, so it's going to go right on top of the pocket, right to the edge, like so. So you will have a pocket that opens this way and a pocket that opens this way, and then this other pocket will go on top. It will open this way. Pretty neat, huh? You could even put another pocket on here too if you wanted to. If you wanted to do another size, you could totally go down and do one just a half or just an inch smaller. So you could do a 4.5 by 4.5 and add even another pocket if you wanted to. Possibilities are endless with this one. I used a cut apart and created kind of a little tuck spot on top of this one, but you could add another pocket. Okay, so we want to make sure it's open the correct way. We're going to go to the edge of this smaller pocket. Okay, so just make sure that you don't go onto the top or onto the you know, the base pocket, I guess you could say, because you don't want to end up closing it. That's not what we want to do. Okay, so now you have your accordion pocket. Okay, so then this will attach to our page right to the edge, like so. Okay, right to the right side and the bottom. So I'm adding my glue. Okay. And I'm just going to lay that down. Don't go into the score line. Okay. And there it is. Okay. So we have our, fold that up. We have our accordion pocket. So you have a full page pocket here, and then you have a pocket here, and then a pocket here. So isn't that cute? I just thought that was a really great idea. I liked it. Okay, so that's the back of page 5. So we're done with our pages. So we can go ahead and put them in our book now. So let me get this out of the way. And adding the pages is just like doing a waterfall. Okay, it's the same thing. If you want, at this point, you can put pattern paper down on your spine. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to lay these down. I'm going to use my 1/2-inch spacer. I've got my pages in order of how I want them. And what we're going to do is grab our first page. And it will be a little tricky because of all the flaps and everything, but that's okay. Just hold them down, and then we don't miter this 1/2-inch tab, and you only put glue on the 1/2-inch tab, okay? Only on the 1/2-inch tab. And then I'm lining this up, so I'm putting it right to the edge of that chipboard for the spine, because I want a 1/2 inch, and I'm centering it. Excuse my gray hair. And I'm lining that up. I'm making sure it's straight, and then I'm setting it down, and then we're done with the first page. Okay. So we have our cover. We have a 1/2-inch gusset in between our page. Okay. And then we're going to lay this down kind of like the traditional, like waterfall style. We're going to butt the next 1/2-inch piece right up next to that last page. Okay, so just right up to that tab, push it down. Okay, so we're not gluing our 1/4-inch tabs, we're just gluing the 1/2-inch tabs, because that 1/4-inch, that's what's giving us a little bit of extra give room. Okay, you want that give room right there. Okay, all right, next page. The last page is different. The last page I do different. But the first 4 pages are going to be laid down just like this. And honestly, I have not had any problems whatsoever. My books are stored standing up. I take them down, use them, refer to them. I get questions. I dig them out. I've opened and closed them 100 times, and I have not had not one single problem with it. And I think the secret with all of this is using the Artisan cardstock, because it is a superior cardstock. And honestly, I have been paper crafting 30 plus years. And I have never, ever experienced, you know, such a good cardstock as I do with this. This is just, it's a phenomenal cardstock. It really is. And the other secret is using the art glitter glue. Depending on your climate and everything, score tape can separate depending on humidity and things like that, which I have had happen. But the art glitter glue is absolutely phenomenal, and I haven't had any problem with that. So I have had questions from folks asking me about it, and honestly, I've not had a problem. Okay, we're on the last page. So instead of gluing it down like I've been doing it, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this open, and I'm going to glue this 1/2" tab right on top of the 1/2" tab I just glued down, okay? That way, when you turn your page, you have a nice edge here instead of seeing another tab, okay? So this is why, this is the different part. So instead of putting glue on this side here and gluing it down, I'm going to put it on the other side and then glue it right on top of that tab that I just glued down. We still have our 1/4 inch give space. This tab is just going to be folded in the different direction because it's going to be glued right on top. So you just go right to the score line, like so. Get my eyeballs in there, sorry, gray hair. Okay, and lay that down, and then we're done with that. Anyway, we got to do the inside covers, and then we're done. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so now we have all of our pages in our book, and we just have all of our little reminders for our magnets and things that we need to add. Okay, so let's look at the front, inside front. So we have a pocket, there's a magnet closure, okay? So a pocket flap, and the tags in the pockets hold down squash books, okay? And it's really sturdy, so you will need 2 magnets for this one. And then the tags, I use the Heartfelt Creations tags. If you don't have that die, it is available at Country Craft Creations if you would like to get it. And if you don't have it, just make a 4x6 tag, okay? So inside front cover. So we are going to make pocket flaps just like we did on one of the pages, and then we're going to make the squash books, okay? So the pocket flaps, you will need 2 that are 8 3/4 by 4 1/2, and squash books you'll need 2 that are 7 1/2 by 7 1/2. You will need 2 magnets for the closure, okay? So the pockets, or the pocket flaps I should say, they're just like that one we made. So you will take it on the 8 3/4, you're going to score at 1/2 and at 4 5/8, okay? That's a little wonky measurement. And then a 1/2 inch on the other side, so either at 1/2 or at 4, okay? So both of those like that. And then the squash books are pretty simple. So you put them in your scoreboard, you're going to score at 3 3/4, turn it, score at 3 3/4, and then turn it completely over, okay? So on the other side, and then that way our folds go the correct way for our scoring. And then you're going to line it up on your scoreboard point to point, okay? And then score it all the way down the diagonal, okay? Then you're going to do that for both of them. So the squash books are super easy. So just fold, and then fold, and then turn it over, and then fold on the diagonal the opposite direction, making sure that you're lined up and everything is going the correct way, okay? And then when you fold it up, all you have to do is tuck them in and fold it down like that, and then go ahead and re-burnish, because that will help it lay down flat, okay? So there's one. I'll do it again. Turn it over. Okay. Then it just will tuck in on itself. And there you go. Now, when you cover these with pattern paper, so as they open up, on the inside, I covered the triangles. On the outside, I did not, because they're going to just fold up and nobody's going to see them anyway. Even when they open up, really, you're only going to see them for a hot second. So I only covered the triangles on the inside. When you cover the squares for the outside, so the squares here, the cardstock is 3 3/4. So I cut my pattern paper to 3 5/8 and then use those to mat the squares. When you do the triangles, you cut it instead of, because like, how do I explain this? So the pattern paper for the squares, I cut 1/8 inch less than the piece I'm mitering, or than the piece I'm covering. For triangles like this, I cut it 1/4 inch less than the triangle, or than the square, okay? So if you look at the triangles together, 3 3/4, cut your paper at 3 1/2, and then cut down the diagonal, and that will perfectly mat the triangles, okay? So for squares, 1/8 inch less. For triangles, 1/4 less, okay? Hope that makes sense. So we have our 2 squashy books. Now let's look at our pockets. So this is the one we're going to use all the tabs, because 2 of the tabs that are adjacent to each other will create the pocket, and the other tab will create the attachment. Okay, so I'm just going to fold and burnish all of my pieces. Okay, and then we're going to miter all of the corners, and we're going to create tabs on all the sides. Okay, so then I'm going to do that little foldy trick here. So I only have to cut once, and then we'll cut that, and then we're done. Okay, so we've got our miters. Do it again. I'm going to fold, miter that. Such a good little trick that I love it. I need to remember to use it. Since I do so many configuration pages, that would make more sense, wouldn't it? Okay, so the 2 ones attached, or you know, that are adjacent to each other, those are going to make the pockets. So we're going to fold those in. Now this time, let's remember to do our tape. Okay, so I'm just going to put that here. And what that's going to do is when we fold it up and we glue it down, then it's going to make so that the tags slip in easy over the edge of that tab, okay? Well, remember to do it correctly this time. Put our glue on. Okay, so we got our tape on there. I'm going to fold that down. Okay, so the pocket just laid over the top of this. Pocket's on top. And then we're going to flip our tab to the opposite side, okay? All right. Done. Okay. Tags that are adjacent to each other. We'll glue down, get our tape. It's a little easier to do it this way than it is to put the glue on first and then go, oh yeah, I needed tape. Okay, and if you cut it just a little bit long and attach it to that other tab too, then it works out nicely too, because it helps hold it down. So you can glue it. All right. Okay, I'm gonna fold that down. There we go. Okay, so the pocket's on top. Tab flips to the opposite direction, so it's in the back. And there we go. So then we're going to grab our book, and what we're going to do is we're going to just glue the pockets to the edge of the album, okay? So they flip up, and then you'll put the pattern paper on later. You have to put the pattern paper on before you add the squash books though, so that's important to know. All right, so here is this. We have our little pockets, and these are going to go just one up and one down. They're meant to be next to each other. Okay, so I'm just gluing it right to the edge of my cover. Okay, and this is where you need to put your pattern paper on after you put your pockets on, onto the whole entire cover. The squash books will lay right on top. Okay, right to the edge. There will be a minute, little teeny tiny gap in between the pockets, and that's okay because you actually kind of want that to make sure that they don't, you know, fight with each other. Because I hate it when the pockets fight with each other, right? All right. Okay. There it is. So then you put your pattern paper down next, okay? Oh, actually, no, I take that back. Set your magnets next. Okay, so steps to this. Make and add your, did that slip? It did slip. Down a little bit. There we go. There we go. That's more better. That looks better. Okay, so your cover, add your pockets, okay? Set your magnets, okay? You'll need 2 sets, so somewhere in here, okay? So you need to add the magnets. Then your pattern paper, okay? Once your pattern paper's on, then you can set your squash books down, and I set them so that they open this way, okay? And then when you put your pocket down, the magnets will keep the pockets closed, and then the tags that you will make for your pockets will keep the squash books closed. I hope that makes sense. So the order again: pockets, magnets, pattern paper, squash books. Okay. Then the back of the album, and actually I'm going to not do that because then I can't close the book. So I'm just going to tuck these in here for now, okay? So then we got to do the back of our album, and then we're done. We are super done. Okay, so the back of the album is the 2 top pockets, and they have little tags, and then we have the bigger pocket with the tags, and then we have a flap for photo space, and then I used a die cut to create a tuck spot, okay? So you could, if you wanted to, close your flap like this, and then you could have, there's 2 options for this, so you can do it either way, because these little tags here will actually keep this closed as well. So however you want to do it, you could even do it where, you know, you have all this stuff in the pockets and, you know, you still use your tags. So however you want to do it, it's kind of a multi-purpose kind of thing. Okay, so for the inside back cover, get that out of the way. For the flap, you need a piece that's 5 by 8. For the large pocket, you need a piece that's 9.5 by 4 1/4. And for the small pockets, you need 2 of them that are 5 by 3 1/4. The big note is that the bottom large pocket, you cover it with pattern paper first, and then you layer the small pockets on top of that, okay? Because they are smaller, they do lay right on top. So you will have to put a pattern paper down first, okay? So all of these are pretty simple to score. The smaller pockets are the 3 1/4 by 5. Score at half, 4 1/2, and then turn it onto the 3 1/2. 3 1/2. I'm sorry, guys. That's 3 1/2, not 3 1/4, 3 1/2. I boo-booed. And I can't find my pen to fix it. There we go. And I'm going to, let me make sure real quick because I don't want to steer anybody wrong. Yep, 3.5. 3.5, not 3 1/4, 3.5. So 2 at 3.5 by 5. Small pockets. And I did cut them correctly. I just didn't write it down correctly. Okay. So, and then, so scoring the 3.5 at half. Okay, so both of those small pockets. Larger pocket, 9.5 at the top, score at half, score at 9, turn it on the long side, 4 1/4, score at a half. And then the flap is 5 by 8 on the 5-inch side, score at 1/2. Okay. Then what we're gonna do the usual, fold and burnish and miter. I am gonna miter this one because it's gonna be pretty close to the edges, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We're almost done, guys. We are almost done. And this is a huge album, I know. But I think the construction is simple, and I think that, you know, the kind of newer little fun pockets and stuff are kind of, you know, interesting, I think. All right, so smaller pockets here. Miter those real quick. Now fold and burnish those, and then we'll put this together and show you how it works. All right. Okay. Get those out of the way. Fold and burnish. Oh, and I got to tell you, these cards, so like I was using sticky notes because I love sticky notes, and I still use sticky notes like all the time. But I got these cards. They're called, they're from Rocketbook, and they're Rocketbook index cards. And it's a really cool system. Like you can take notes on special paper with friction pens that are erasable, which are my favorite pens ever. And then what you do is, if you need to save the notes, you can upload them to, you know, like Google Docs or whatever, and then you can save them and then erase this with water and reuse them. They're reusable paper, and it is amazing because I go through so many of these cards, you know, all the time, and I was like wasting so much, you know, cards and Post-its and stuff doing all this. Got these from my best friend Jackie, and she introduced me to them, and they are amazing, and I love them. So, yeah, I highly recommend if you want to check them out. Rocketbook. These cards are amazing. I found they have the cards at Office Depot, but you do have to use friction pens. That is the one thing, because if you use other pens, it'll ruin them. Okay, enough of that. Okay, so the pocket. This page was designed so that the pocket pretty much goes the whole length of the page. Okay, like this. The flap needs to be above the pocket. So kind of dry fit this. When you put this down to the edge, the flap doesn't go over the pocket. It just needs to meet like right at the top of the pocket. You don't want it inside the pocket or over the pocket at all. So just make sure that everything is going to fit perfect. If you need to take off a sliver, you know, go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Glue the bottom pocket down. Okay, just make sure you go to the edge and not dry fit, but go to the edge of the page, or page. Okay, I'm getting tired. I think this is the last tutorial I'm filming today. I've been talking for hours, and I think I need a break. All right, so I'm gluing it to the edge of my cover. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so that's the pocket. Then I'm going to do the flap, and the flap goes right to the edge of the pocket, and it's going to be about 1/4 of an inch in on the sides. Okay, easy peasy. So either way you want to configure this pocket as far as as far as how you close it and where you put your tags, you know, that's kind of a awesome little, you know, thing. You can personalize it a little bit. So I'm just kind of making sure everything is lined up. Glue that down. Okay, and there's that. So then the bottom pocket, so this is where you're going to put your pattern paper on. So just remember, and then the bottom pockets will layer on top. And what I did was I centered them. I pushed them down just a little bit. So when I did it, I kind of imagined that they were stuck together, and about 1/4 inch in from the sides, on both sides, and 1/4 inch in from the top. So it left about, what is that, about 1/2 inch or so between the top of these pockets and the top of this pocket, okay? And then once I laid them down, then I put one full piece of pattern paper over the top of that, okay? So if you look at the finished book, it looks like one full pocket, but it's actually 2 smaller ones underneath. And then that way your tags don't, you know, kind of fall around and stuff. They're all, you know, in their own little pocket, I guess you could say. Okay. That's how I did that. So I'm going to hold these because I have to put the pattern paper down first, and then I'll glue the pockets down. Do put the tape on the bottom tabs because you can't really tuck pattern paper down in there and cover your tags or your tabs. So do the Scotch tape trick for that. And that's the project. So we have made, whoop, and all my squash books are falling out because I didn't put them down yet. So we've made this album. So that is that. So I'm just going to real quick go through this. The front cover, we have our pocket flaps with our squash books. So you do the pockets, set your magnets, put your pattern paper down, squash books on top, boom, done. You have your split pocket here. On this page, you have a nice flap with a pocket on the front. We have our fold out flips with our waterfall underneath. We have our accordion belly band with the 2 pockets and then the belly band behind. We have another pocket flap with a pocket underneath. We have our pocket with our little mini waterfall. And then we have our T belly band. So pocket here and then a pocket here. We have our roundabout page with our opportunities inside. Then we have our other page flip. And then we have our accordion pocket right here. And then we have our pocket with our flap here with different ways that you can close that flap. So that's my project. This is my Carta Bella Farmhouse Living album, my recipe album made with love. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. Again, I will have information down below for all the supplies you'll need, all the cut guides, and then I also go through it during the tutorial as well. But if you have any further questions, please let me know. This does require quite a bit of product. So, I mean, this is a huge album and it is an heirloom piece. I think that this would be amazing for a gift. For somebody, it would be amazing in all kinds of different papers, but I think that you're really going to like it. So thanks for watching. I hope you have a super crafty day. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to. And also, if you want to, check out Country Craft Creations at countrycraftcreations.com. Get chipboard, your cardstock, your paper collection, your flowers, your beautiful little daisies, all kinds of other supplies and products that you can get that are amazing to play with paper, making cards, albums, junk journals, you name it. Check out the Facebook page, Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations, and check out our other designers. They're amazing. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.